UFC 290 Volkanovski versus Rodriguez is coming up this weekend, and guys, today I have for you 5 fighters that I'm going to be cheering for to win. They're not picks, they are fighters that I will be sitting there going, come on, let's go, and I'll be actively cheering for them today, guys, because I am so involved with the sport. I love seeing particular guys win. Hear what I have to say, and I'd love to know if you are cheering for anybody in particular. I'm going to tell you the reason why I'm cheering for these fighters, and maybe you can hop on the train with me. We're going to get into the video in just a second, guys. Before I do, though, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's talk about UFC 290. So the first fighter at UFC 290 that I will be cheering for is Tatsuro Tyra. Now, I am one of those guys who sit behind a desk and I kind of like build a relationship with these fighters. I have my favorite fighters, just as like most people do when they become a UFC fan, right? Everybody has their favorite fighters. Tyra is not one of my favorite fighters. He's relatively new to the sport. Well, not to the sport, excuse me. Relatively new to name value in the UFC. But the reason that I really want to cheer for him is because he is one of those guys that represents Japan, and that is so underappreciated in the UFC. We don't have a lot of guys from Japan, and this guy has looked like he could be something very, very special. I hope he gets past Pitbull this weekend, and I hope he continues his win streak, because if he can break into the market in Japan, that would be fantastic for the UFC. There are not a lot of Japanese talent in the UFC right now, and one of the reasons why I love watching One Championship, their Japanese division is incredible. I love watching One Championship for that reason. I would love to see these fighters in the UFC as well. I hope we can break into that, maybe get another card in Japan. That would be so awesome. So Tatsuro Tyra, I hope he continues momentum. I hope he gets to become a huge star. He looks like he can be something very, very special. Let's move on, though. The second fighter that I will be cheering for this weekend is Robbie Lawler. Is Robbie Lawler going to win this fight? Absolutely not. But Robbie Lawler is one of my favorite fighters of all time. The entertainment that Robbie Lawler has given us over the years has been absolutely phenomenal. This dude has no quit in him. He is one of the most exciting fighters to ever grace this sport. He's just a really laid-back, cool guy. I love Robbie Lawler. I hope he gets a win over Nico Price, because this is Robbie Lawler's last fight. It's his retirement fight, and I hope that he goes out on top, because that would be, I can just imagine it right now, Robbie Lawler going out on a horrible loss, not looking like himself like he hasn't in any of his recent fights. Excuse my phone there, guys. My apologies. I don't want to see him go out sad. I really don't. That's why I'm going to be cheering for him. And on top of that, I really like Robbie Lawler in general, and I hope he can go out in a fairy tale ending. As it won't happen, man. It won't happen. I don't know what I'm talking about, man. It's going to hurt. I'm going to hate watching that one. But let's move on to the next fighter. The next fighter that I'll be cheering for is Robert Whittaker. There's no reason. I love Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker is one of my favorite fighters of all time. I just like Robert Whittaker. I will always be cheering for Robert Whittaker. And actually, guys, if Dricus du Plessis wasn't fighting Robert Whittaker, I'd be cheering for him, because I quite like Dricus du Plessis as well. But Robert Whittaker is one of my favorite fighters. There are very few fighters that I would cheer against if Robert Whittaker was fighting them, and even then, my favorite fighters are not even in the same division. So, like, he would have to fight someone like Carlos Condit I like more than Robert Whittaker, but that guy is just, how can you not like him? You know, I will forever be cheering for Robert Whittaker. I don't have a reason for that, but let's move on, guys. The next fighter that'll be cheering for at UFC 290 is Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno isn't one of my favorite fighters. However, I really respect his journey as champion. He's finally gotten over the Figueiredo trilogy, or quadrilogy, excuse me. He's finally gotten over that. He's been cut from the UFC. He came back, went on this amazing run, and got stuck fighting Davison Figueiredo in like the toughest of the tough. He's been trying to get over some adversity to get those wins, and he looked great, and he's looking better. I don't want him to lose to a guy that he already lost to twice, and then maybe have to come back, win another fight, and get another fight. I feel bad that Brandon Moreno keeps having to fight these same guys over and over again. I want him to win. I want him to relax as champion. I want him to just like chill back and get some fresh matchups, potentially matchups that are better than the Pantoja matchup, because Pantoja already beat him twice. I feel bad for Brandon Moreno that he keeps having to rematch everybody, and it's such a scary, scary matchup. I want Brandon Moreno to win. I want him to lay back as champion and get some fresh opponents. That's why I want Brandon Moreno to win. But guys, the last fighter that I will be cheering for at UFC 290 is Alexander Volkanovski. Alexander Volkanovski, I believe to be the greatest fighter of all time. That is a very unpopular opinion. I believe he is the GOAT of all time in combat sports. I really do believe that. He lost to Islam Makhachev in a complete robbery. I believe he should be the double champion defending his belt right now, and I think it is horrible what has happened to him. He completely got robbed. If he wins this fight and Islam Makhachev wins the next fight, they're going to do a rematch. I want him to destroy Yair Rodriguez for that reason. I don't hate Yair. I like Yair. I like Rodriguez. If he was fighting anybody else in Volkanovski, I might be cheering for him. There's a couple guys like I really like the Korean Zombie. So there's very few guys I would cheer for in that division. I think Yair has been in the game for a long time. I would like to see him get the belt. But Volk, I want nothing more than to see him rematch Islam and take that belt. They robbed him from that. They robbed him from legacy. They robbed him from greatness. And if he held that title, that lightweight title right now, he would be in the conversation as the greatest of all time. He'd be in the conversation to be the guy better than John Jones. But they stole that from him, and I want him to continue his legacy. I want to see him get what he deserves in that lightweight title. I will be cheering for Alexander Volkanovski until he goes up to 155 again and captures that title. Volkanovski is a dog. He's an animal. I cannot wait to see what he does. This guy is an absolute pleasure to watch. It is a privilege to be able to watch the greatness that this guy is putting on in every single one of his fights. That's who I'm going to be cheering for, guys. That is who I'm going to be cheering for at UFC 290. We got Tatsuro Tyra, Nico Price, Robbie Lawler, Robert Whittaker, Brandon Moreno, Alexander Volkanovski. Are there any fighters that you will be cheering for at UFC 290? Let me know what you think down below. And thank you so much for watching on the screen right now. If you'd like to continue watching the Clenbat channel, there'll be 2 videos on screen for you to check out. Check them out. I think they're pretty great. I will see you there, guys, or in the next video. Take care.